Hello, everyone. Welcome to our book club for May. Today we have with us Pam Montgomery. Pam Montgomery is an Earth Elder, author, and teacher who has passionately embraced her role as a spokesperson for the green beings and has been investigating plants and trees and their intelligent spiritual nature for more than 3 decades. She engages in co-creative partnership with all of nature and strives to take up her rightful place as a part of nature where she can contribute to all of life thriving. Her latest book, Co-Creating with Nature, Healing the Wound of Separation, is a model for developing a co-creative partnership with all of life. Through this book, Pam reveals how to restore our relationship with the living earth and come home not only to nature, but also to ourselves. She shows that when we nurture ourselves, trust our intuition, and allow for joyful encounters, we restore our interconnection with all of life. Pam, thank you so much for being with us here today. We are super excited to have you. I know your teachings are incredible from my own perspective. And yeah, when you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you. It's actually, I really like that you have this youth program. It's kind of makes me feel hopeful for for the future. And so yes, I'm happy to be here. So I'm going to share my screen because I have a little keynote slide thing to do for you, and then afterwards we can chat or do questions or whatever you want. So I just need to share this. Um, okay. Now I need to be able to access um, the play button, which is underneath here somewhere. It's always so funny to me that these there we go. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so we're going to begin with asking the question, what is nature consciousness? And consciousness basically means when you're aware of yourself. And so what that means for us in nature is extremely intelligent, by the way, as you already know that, but there's a lot of biointelligence within nature. And this level of biointelligence within nature actually is aware of all the interactions, all the interbeingness, all the connectedness between different species, and actually, let's see, how should I say this? Bases how adaptation might take place or different various types of things within nature take place is through this immense amount of biointelligence, which which is self-awareness. So that's where we begin with um, when we're talking about being in co-creative partnership with nature. And our closest kin within nature are the plants and the trees. I mean, it used to be 99% of all living organisms on the planet were plants, trees, and sea vegetables. That's percentage has changed a bit now because of the cutting of the rainforest in the Amazon. So it's now about 80 to 85%, but still it's a very large percentage of the living organisms on the planet, which means plants and trees are predominant. And because there's such a large percentage of them, it's they are the ones that are really and water. There's a lot of water too. So they are very much a part of our lives and how we interact with nature. So I just want to point out plants and trees because I'm a real plant person. So I feel like I can't do anything if I don't talk about plants a little bit. So we have, an incredibly symbiotic relationship with plants. So, both physically, I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for plants because we can breathe. And all of the oxygen on the planet comes from plants and trees and sea vegetables. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. But we're related in other levels as well. But just to say that they are really our closest kin here on the planet. And so that means when we're really wanting to engage with nature on that big level. Plants and trees is a great place to start because of our immense symbiosis with them. Okay, hang on. My little thing is not progressing. Okay, I'm hitting my little button to move forward, except it's not moving forward. So what's that mean? Um, Anybody have any ideas about how to
You
make
can
my screen? What's that?
try and press the side arrow. Sometimes that works.
That's what I'm pressing.
Oh, okay. Have
I'm
you tried
pressing to
clicking?
move forward. I'm pressing the side arrow. It worked the first time. Now it's not working this time. Okay. All right. And then of course I never can find my cursor. Oh, I'll hit the escape button. I'm sorry. What it's gonna do is show the sidebar, but
Ah,
oh,
don't
that's
worry.
not there. Hmm. This is this is the day of glitches because now my escape button doesn't work either. Hmm. Okay, well, let's see.
Well, maybe just try moving the cursor around, even if you can't see it, and clicking. It might not be.
Oh,
Yeah.
There we go.
okay. All right, move it around and click. There you go. Um, okay, so moving into co-creative partnership, as I mentioned, we're already in relationship, especially with the plants and the trees because we breathe. I mean, that's a given. So when you move into partnership, what that means is that you're realizing that we're already in relationship and we're bringing it into conscious awareness. So now we're moving into our ability to be consciously aware. So for example, one of the ways that you might work with this is that you step outside the door in the morning and it's a beautiful morning and you're like, oh, you take that nice big deep breath in the morning and you're like greeting the sun and you're so happy that the sun is rising. And and you realize that, oh, you're looking around at like some of maybe your favorite plants or trees, and you take that first deep breath, but you bring it into conscious awareness that you're actually breathing with whatever plant or tree might be there that you're going to focus on. And so you breathe in the oxygen that's been breathing that the plant or tree is breathing out. You breathe that in and then you breathe out carbon dioxide, which the plant or tree breathes in. So you bring it into that conscious awareness that you are actually breathing with another being. And it actually this thing of breath, which is so mundane. I mean, we don't even think about it. We do it every day. We do it every second of every minute of every hour of every day. And but now you bring it into conscious awareness that, oh, I'm actually breathing in another being, and this being is breathing in me. We're sharing breath with each other. That's when you start to take it to the next level of like, oh, this is way more than just being in relationship. We can actually move into a partnership here because we're giving each other our very life. I mean, our life is only coming from the plants and trees, our breath. And of course, plants and trees have other carbon dioxide besides our out breath, but still we're sharing that. So this is a great simple way to start to realize that, oh, we're actually can move into partnership. Okay, good. That works to just click it wherever. Thank you for that. The human nature matrix. So, matrix meaning origination point. So, here we have humans and nature. And what is really important to remember about this being in this matrix, in this place where we originate, the origination point of this partnership is that the truth is that we're a part of nature. We are not separate from nature. We're an animal, so we're a part of nature as well. Unfortunately, what's happened over many different um, things that have happened throughout the history of humans and nature. And has what's happened is that we have become separate from nature and we've just forgotten. It's not that we're not a part of nature, because we are, but we've forgotten that we're a part of nature. So we've just fallen into this like deep amnesia. And so that's our work right now, is to wake up and remember that, oh, no, wait a minute. We're not separate. We're a part of this great nature, which is super key. It's a key ingredient to the work that you all are doing, in that in order to have nature, certain aspects of nature to have rights like other species have, like we have, and other aspects of nature might have, is that we absolutely have to realize that we're not separate. And once we realize that there's not a separation, that really changes things. So the human nature matrix is the center of it is that there's no separation between humans and nature. Okay. So this is where we can move into realizing that nature can actually be a spiritual teacher for us. And what I mean by that is we're going to define spirit as the vital principle held to give life. So it's what makes life live. It's that part that animates. Um, it's the vitality. It's the vitalness, the essence. So when we realize that the spirit is in everything, I mean, it's in all of life. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any life. So once we realize that, and we realize that we're actually in a very fast evolutionary spiral right now, right at this time on the planet. And the evolution is of a spiritual nature, or raising of consciousness, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to use the word spiritual nature, spiritual evolution. So we can really work with nature to help guide us. I mean, nature's been here since day one. We're kind of new kids on the block as far as, we look at the evolutionary part of it. Uh, so in this thinking about entering into a new story, the new Earth story is what many are referring to it as, the new Earth story, meaning that we can live on this planet in a different way than we have in the past. And we certainly can be with nature in a different way. Once we started to forget and fall into amnesia after, kind of putting seeds in the ground, and we moved from being hunters and gatherers to putting seeds in the ground, which means we stopped moving about to forage and hunt and all of that. Once we started staying in place, then we started having ownership of land. Then we started enclosing the land. Then we started storing the grain. Then some people had more grain than others. Then the us and them started happening. Then we started with ownership of land that moved into controlling it, which moved into empire building, on and on and on and on and on since then. So, and it just has continued, so that corporations are empires now. And then our relationship to the land changed, and we started forgetting, and we became separate from the land because it was, the empire owned it. And so the empire saw the land as a resource, a commodity, instead of the sacred river, or the wild water, or the plants that sustained us, or the, massive, old growth forest that were the lungs of the planet that actually fed our lungs, on and on and on and on and on. And then once that happened, and lost our sovereignty, we lost our own sovereignty to be our own authority, to be with the land in the way that our ancestors had been with the land for millennia. So it has just come to this place in this modern day where we have forgotten all of that. And it's time to start waking up and remembering it. And that's part of the New Earth story, is to start waking up, and is part of the story you're trying to tell as part of the New Earth, which is that nature has rights too. It's has just as much right to live as we do. So So I want to talk a little bit here about some of the aspects of co-creative partnership, being in co-creative partnership with nature. A big one is trust. And um, trust is one of those things where my experience has been that, I mean, I do a lot of work with plants, but my experience has been if a plant tells me something or a plant guides me in a certain way, I can trust that because plants don't lie. Nature doesn't lie. They're just being themselves. They're not like, we kind of have this tendency to put facades on and we're something different depending on who we're talking to. If we're talking to, an authority figure, we're one way. If we're talking to one of our children, we're another way. If we're talking to, a dear friend, we're one way. If we're talking to a politician, we're another way. I mean, it's just we put on so many different facades. Nature doesn't do that. Nature's just being itself all the time. So you can trust that. So trust is a really important piece here of that. And then when we trust nature, we realize like, oh, that's right. I'm not separate and I'm a part of nature. So, oh, can I trust myself? So we get into this. So we want to be looking at that aspect too. So here, one of the ways that I work with that is that we happen to have this thing called an ego. And my experience has been if anything is going to question you, is going to say, wait a minute, are you just making that up? Oh, that's just your imagination. That whole rap. It's your ego's doing that. It's this part of your brain that wants to be in control. So I am like, no, I need to go to my heart, which the heart is actually the primary organ of perception. And the heart actually develops before the brain does. So it is primary. It's the first. It's first. It's before the brain. So I always check in and I call it heart ping. And this is really, it's really simple, is that if I'm questioning and I'm not sure because, something's going, the nag's up here saying, questioning me, then it's like I bring everything right into my heart and I'm okay, okay, heart, here we go. What do you say? Ping or thud? It's the ping thud method. And if it goes ping, it means it gives you energy. Or if it goes thud, it's like kind of your shoulders kind of drop and it's like, it takes away the energy. So that's my key. Does it give me energy? Does it be like, yeah? Or is it like, no, no, not really? So, and I've used this ping thud method so many times in really situations that were like, I mean, in foreign countries when, a volcano had gone off in Iceland and I couldn't get home and trying to find my way and I'm in London and oh, she says, go catch the red bus. And I'm like, they're all red. What do you mean catch the red bus? Anyway, so I've used the ping fed method so many times to help me out of situations, difficult situations. So anyway, so in trusting, when I call it the nag, when the nag is going at you, then I'm just like, no, excuse me, 1 minute, excuse me a minute. I'm going to check in with my heart, and so I do the ping thud method. And when you do that, it puts you in the yes stream, and the yes stream is it's it's the positive when you're in that positive movement in the flow. Some would say, oh, I'm just in the flow. It doesn't mean you don't come up against obstacles. I mean, it's kind of like the water running through the stream. It's like there's big boulders and big rocks in the stream, and the water comes along and just goes around it or it goes up and over it. And so it's not that you don't come up against things, but you just flow with it and it's easy. And when you're in that yes stream, it's just everything just moves along so much easier. So and that comes by trusting. Um, so anyway, that's a really important piece of the being a co-creative partnership. Then there's healing the splits, which is kind of like healing the separation. A little bit different, but basically it's healing the places where it's where you perceive something to be the enemy because there is no enemy. this is all just, this is kind of in our exterior environment. Well, I mean, we've kind of learned from what happens in the exterior that we actually do manage to find an enemy internally too. We oftentimes war with ourselves as well. So it's really important to be able to heal these places where we feel there is a separation. So an example might be um, like a plant that's a poisonous plant, or a plant that gives you dermatitis. Poison ivy is a really good example. Poison oak, poison ivy, those two are super good examples of ones that you might perceive to be the enemy or even be afraid of because you get a rash. So the important thing here is that everything has a gift. We all come in with gifts. Every aspect of nature carries a gift. Ticks carry a gift. Poisonous plants carry a gift. Mosquitoes, I'm picking the ones that you might perceive to be the enemy. Mosquitoes carry a gift. I mean, there's so many gifts. And so that's what we want to be looking for. Instead of perceiving something within nature to be the enemy, because that's perpetuating the warring attitude. And if we continue to perpetuate that, guess what? If we're going to war with ourselves and say, oh, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you're not something or other enough, that's usually the internal monologue when we're warring on ourselves. If we continue to war on ourselves, that means we continue to war with nature, which means we continue to war with each other across the globe, which I feel like war is really archaic and it's time to get over it. So we have to start somewhere. So if we start here with nature, which is also ourselves, if we start right here and extend it to nature, and instead of going and saying, oh man, I gotta chop down all that wild parsnip that's coming out in the field out there because the juice of it gives me a burn on my skin. So therefore I have to chop it all down and get rid of it because it's the enemy. Well, the truth of the matter is, wild parsnip is the ancestor to the parsnip you buy in the grocery store, and it's considered survival food. So when you cut it all down, and then, all those trucks and trains and boats stop running for some reason, who knows why, and oh, that grocery store shelf is a little bit empty right now. Guess what? You had a whole field worth of wild parsnip that you could eat because it's food. That root is food. Just don't just don't mush up the stalk that's got all the juice in it. So you just learn these things and you realize this plant is not the enemy. It's actually a huge gift. So, okay, I've belabored that one a little bit. So one of the things we want to do is in order to heal the splits is we want to have close encounters. This is me laying in a patch of bloodroot. It's one of my most favorite plants. Comes in the spring. And so close up encounters, so really engaging with nature, having meaningful experiences within nature. And then that you start to feel the closeness when you do that. And seeing the gifts. So we've talked about seeing the gifts. And it's kind of like, looking at one side of a coin and you see all the things that are like, I don't like this and I don't like this and this is not great and blah, blah, blah. And then you flip the coin over and, oh, there's the gifts. So I just want to emphasize that we all have gifts. And so do we. We all come in with gifts as well, which is really what we're doing here. We're here to share our gifts with others. Okay. Then there's this aspect of time, and there's internal time and there's external time. We have a tendency to operate a lot on external time, which is time out there. And I mean, it has its place. We wouldn't have all shown up here at the same time if we didn't agree that we're going to look at our clocks at this time and then we're going to show up on Zoom at that time. That's helpful. That's external time. However, when we let it rule our lives, then it takes over completely. So what I try to do is balance external time with internal time. And internal time is your own internal rhythm. It's like, what is the rhythm that works for you? Maybe your rhythm doesn't go well with I got to get up at 7 o'clock because I got to be on the road at 8 because I got to be at the job at 9. Maybe you'd rather sleep till 9 instead. Maybe that's your rhythm, or eating at a certain time, or those are kind of simple things. But internal time is when you don't have an agenda. You don't have a big long list that you have to accomplish. My most favorite internal time is when I walk out the door in the morning and I just start to do a walkabout, and I just, wherever I'm attracted, whatever's, attracting me, I'll just wander over there. And maybe there's a beautiful flower that just bloomed and oh, I get to smell it. And or maybe I wander over to the stream and the sun is now dancing on top of the water as it's going down the stream. And I can lay there and listen to the song that's coming from the stream. Or maybe I just lay on the earth and let that gravity just hold me and just envelop me. It's like I feel like gravity is like a form of love from the earth. It just holds us so gently. And so here's the thing about internal time that is so cool. When you're in internal time, you're in the now moment. You're just being right here, right now, present. You're not thinking about what happened yesterday, or you're not thinking about what you got to do tomorrow. You're just right here in that present moment. So, um, so yeah, let's look at that internal time. Oh yeah. I love this picture. She's out in California on a madrone. She's laying on a madrone tree and she's just being like in that internal space with madrone, right in that present moment. Okay, so here's what I want to get to is what happens when you're in the present moment, in the now moment. And that's all there really ever is now. But we tend to dwell in past and future instead of dwelling in the now moment. But what happens when you're in the now moment, that's when the portal opens and you can step through that portal into the multidimensional reality that exists on other levels than the one that you're in presently. So internal time is a fabulous place to be when you're in nature, and nature can bring you to this internal space. So, and then help you step through this amazing portal. Okay. Self-love is another aspect of being in good co-creative partnership with nature. Um, it's really important to love yourself before you can love another. So before you can love nature, you need to love yourself. Remembering, though, of course, that you're a part of nature. So when you do love yourself, you're actually loving nature as well. Um, for me, the ultimate in self-love is nourishment. So when I nourish my physical body, I nourish my emotional body, I nourish my mental body, and I nourish my spiritual body. When I'm nourished fully on all those levels, to me, that's the best self-love that I can do. And so that's what I attempt to do, is just to nourish myself on all levels. Sometimes it's tricky. You might say, well, I have to go to a job that I don't like because I got 5 kids to feed and, I don't feel nourished when I'm there. Okay, I get it. I get it. So what do? Start by bringing something into that workplace that does nourish you. So maybe you're sitting in a little cubicle at the office. So bring a little plant in, set it on your desk, or bring a crystal in, or bring a picture, or bring something that when you look at it or when you're around it, you're like, oh yeah, that feels good. That feels really good to me. I feel nourished by that. And what happens when you do that, it starts the ball to roll. And before you know it, your little cubicle has been moved over to where there's a row of windows and you can see out the window and there's this big, beautiful tree outside the window and you get to look at the big, beautiful tree out the window. The point I'm trying to make here is once you set it into motion, this self-love through nourishment, it's like I said, it's like a ball rolling, or it's like the snowball. It just keeps rolling, which means you're starting to be in that yes stream that we talked about a little bit earlier. You've now put yourself into the stream of movement towards self-love and nourishment. So, so another aspect of self-love is being sovereign unto yourself. And that means that you're in control of you. Nobody else is. I realized that I'm an authority at one point. It was, which is also has to do with sovereignty, is that I'm the author of my own experience. I can be me better than anybody else can be me. I can be me at the best. So I'm the author of my own experience. That makes me an authority. And when you really step into that place, and when we're not talking power over and all that kind of stuff, we're talking about power from within, that you step into that sovereignty. And way back in the beginning, we were talking about once you lose your sovereignty because somebody is doing the power over thing on you, the oppressor is doing the power over on you. Once you lose your sovereignty, you lose your connection to nature. You lose your connection to yourself. You lose your connection to nature. So it's one of those places that's super important in our really being connected with nature and in this co-creative partnership is to be sovereign unto yourself. So, okay. So then you also, when you are in this love place, and I mentioned this before, it's like you bring something into your workspace that feels good, that has good vibrations. So you want to surround yourself with that which feels good, like what feels like, I mean, the whole terminology, good vibrations. I mean, there's really something to that. Everything has a vibration. Every single thing has a vibration, even if it's seems solid. The molecules are moving all the time. So even though this desk that I'm sitting at seems solid, it's actually has movement to it. So everything has a vibration. And so you want to surround yourself that with good vibes, with good what makes you feel good. I mean, every level, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the music you listen to, the people you hang out with, the house you live in, the job you go to, what all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it has vibrations. And so when you start to surround yourself with good vibes, that's what you feel. You feel nourished. When you don't surround yourself with good vibes and the vibes are kind of funky and you're kind of like, then that's your experience. So you don't feel nourished. You don't feel good, which means you're not loving yourself. Okay. So you want to be aligning with your purpose and shining your gifts. So we just talked before about we all come in with gifts, and you might say, well, I don't know what my gifts are. What do you like? What makes you feel good? Again, back to feeling good. What turns you on? What makes you feel juicy? What are you attracted to? So you follow that thread. And somewhere in that thread, you'll start to find, oh, this is what I really like to do. This is how I want to spend my time. And once you do that, you find your gifts in that purpose, and then you start to shine your gifts, share them with the world. That's what you're here to do. So this really, once you start to find and shine your gifts, then this is where you really ultimately super love yourself. Okay, communication. Key ingredient in a great partnership is to be able to communicate well. So um, I like to look at that word communication and break it down. Communication, communion, common union. So you start by having this exchange and you say, well, what do you mean? How do we really communicate? I mentioned breath earlier. So breath, we this is a way of communicating. And it is so not hard to do because we're breathing all the time. It's just when we bring it into conscious awareness. And this is particularly with plants. However, um, I find that breathing, even though you're not necessarily exchanging breaths, so like being around water is a big one for me. I'm remembering my love for the ocean. I'm spending my winters near the ocean, and I'm have went for years of being kind of afraid of big water. And now that I'm close to the ocean and I can be with it and in it every day, a whole new thing's happening. But I find when I'm on the beach and I'm just breathing, and it just puts me into that place of deep calm and receptivity. So, so breath is an amazing way to begin to communicate, and it's very simple. So, in the biological world, the primary way, the foundational way in which we communicate is through light and sound, which carries a vibratory resonance. So, light we experience through the rainbow spectrum from red to purple. In that spectrum, it's kind of a narrow band of the spectrum because there's light on the other ends that we don't see with our eyeballs, but it all has a vibratory resonance, so you can feel it. Same with sound. We hear in a narrow band in the spectrum, but there's more sound. All of it has a vibration. So, um, so really, the key to learning communication is vibratory resonance, and you experience the vibratory resonance in your body as a felt sensation. It's a sensation, but you can feel that vibration. So you can feel so this woman with she's got her forehead on this tree. She's experienced, she was a student of mine in California, and she actually was kind of instructed, or she was attracted to place her forehead on the tree. I mean, she could have chosen to sit with her spine against the tree, or she could have chosen to wrap her arms around it, but her forehead needed to go to the tree. So what was happening with this tree was that she was experiencing the vibratory resonance of the tree right here in her forehead. So she wanted to like have a direct connection with it that way. So you experience the vibration in your body, and then there's a whole process, it's called focusing, where you put a handle on it, or you just put a descriptive thing on it, and which helps you be able to call it back up. So we don't communicate with nature with what we do. We have these sounds that come out of our mouth, and that's how we primarily communicate, although all the research says it's the least effective form of communication, because I can say some words, but my body language is something completely different. And you're sitting there going, she's saying that, but boy, I sure don't feel like those words that are coming out of her mouth. I don't feel that. I'm feeling something different. So it's really the least effective way of communicating is with words. Now, the tendency is for us to have words in our head. Words come in our head, but that's the translation of the vibratory resonance. Okay, so here we are with communicating within nature, and it's totally, we all have the ability to communicate with all of nature. We've just forgotten, so it's a remembering process. All right, so here we are with our last aspect here of co-creative partnership, which is joyful encounter. And this is a really, so many of my students have like been like, oh, I gotta go, and I gotta sit, and I gotta work with this, and I'm like, wait, no, this is not hard work. Let's have fun. This is actually fun. And so I really encourage people to have joyful experiences within nature. The term for it is called biophilia. And this means it means love of life systems. But I just kind of make that into love for nature. It's our love for nature and nature's love for us is biophilia. And it has to do with our long time association with nature and our close proximity to nature. So it really engenders this deep love when we are in close proximity to that which sustains us. So the part of the movement away from nature, movement into cities away from nature, has really contributed to the separation. because we forget that, oh, this great nature all around us is really what is sustaining us, is really what's giving us our life. And when we're in close proximity to that which gives us our life, then we thrive. And um, so yeah, joyful encounter, biophilia. And then there's these wow moments. Oh, yeah, biophilia. There we go. I just talked about that. Biophilia with your love of nature. Wow moments. So waking up to original wonder. Wow. So wow moments are those times when it's just like takes your breath away. It's so beautiful or it's so stunning and it's you're just like wow, oh my gosh. And what's happening in these wow moments is oxytocin. It's a hormone that gets released from the hypothalamus. It's called the bonding hormone. It's what gets released at birth. It's what bonds mother and child together. It gets released at orgasm. It gets released at kind of peak moments. So the oxytocin gets released in these wow moments, and you're just like, and so that's what makes it like that's kind of like one of the ways we're hardwired to have the bonding with nature. And what it does is it sets into motion the restorative response, meaning it brings everything right back to the balance point. And excuse me, I'm going to take a drink of water. So, excuse me. I get all excited about these wow moments. So, anyway, as much as you can, try to place yourself in nature, having these amazing encounters, really. I spend my winters now in Belize, and it's the western side of the Caribbean, so we get Easter, we get the sunrise. And so that's my every morning I try to go walk on the beach for sunrise. And when you watch that big old orange ball rise up out of the water, and then this path of light goes across the water. And sometimes it's like the orange of the color of the sun is what you see on the water, and it looks like fire in the water. And I never get tired of seeing that. I'm just like, wow, how does it do that? And so I try to have oxytocic moments as much as I can in nature because what it's doing is it's restoring me. It is very different than cortisol release. Cortisol is fight or flight, and it initiates the stress response, which in this modern day world, we're kind of operating on that 24/7, that stress response. So it's super important for us to get back to this place where we bond with nature, where we can have these amazing moments in nature where that bonding happens. And when you have that kind of bonding and it's that close, there's no way you're going to go out and cut down a rainforest. I mean, it's just not going to happen because you've got this connection. And this is the key. The key is these deep connections with nature and these wow moments, and so that we actually are engaging our physical beingness. We're releasing hormones that help us to be in this bonded place. So um okay, and so we're in deep gratitude, of course, for this amazing great nature all around us. And what an amazing place to be in, and to be in gratitude. And of course, gratitude is one of the main positive impulses to the heart, which helps bring the heart into coherence. There's so many things that we don't realize that are physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually happening to us when we're in nature. I mean, those of you who really spend time in nature, you know what I'm talking about. You know, when you go walk in a deep forest, all the terpenes that are being released from all those trees, that's like aromatherapy all around you, and you're breathing those in, and all that happens. So it's this we are amazingly symbiotically related with nature. And when we just bring it into this conscious awareness and realize that, oh, I am so connected here on all these levels. So, anyway, deep gratitude. Co-created partnership helps mend the fabric. So, this is to wrap this whole thing up right now, is that what we're doing right now, I feel like, as we come back into the fold of being a part of nature and not separate from nature, is that all those torn and tattered pieces of the fabric are being mended. And we are a part of that. We're a part of helping to mend this fabric so we can come back into this place within nature where all life can thrive, not just us, all life can thrive. So, yeah. So, anyway, reclaiming our birthright as a part of nature, super important. Okay, so let's see now if I can make this screen go away. Um, oh, okay. Now, there we go. Yay, I did it.
Oh, amazing. That was so wholesome. Thank you so much for such an insightful talk. And it's so nice to hear your deep reverence for nature and the plant world and our plant allies and relatives. And I also appreciate that you're bringing 3 decades long work of working
Actually
in
getting to be
close
four.
relationship.
I
Oh, wow.
it's actually four. I thought I'd say three because then that didn't make me sound quite so old, but it's actually four.
Yeah, so I
It
really
was a long
appreciate
time, but yeah. Well, you can
all
see I
the
get really
reminders.
excited. You can tell it's like it really excites me. So,
For sure. But yeah, it's a really exciting topic. And yeah, I really appreciate you bringing us back to a groundedness and reminding us of what's important and everything. And yeah, to kick off the question and answers, I want to touch on a little bit your other book, Plant Spirit Healing. I know you mentioned it in this one too, but I really enjoyed that one also. And I know you do soul retrieval and these plant spirit healing journeys at Sweetwater Sanctuary.
mhm.
And I was wondering if for people who might not know about those yet, you could maybe like give us a little overview and maybe um, give an example of a story from one of your students that has given permission to share. Yeah, something that like sticks out in your memory or comes to you now, and yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to like, there's a lot. There's a lot. I was like, Um, so you want to know about uh you want to know about soul retrieval? Is that what you want to know about? Or are you asking
Yeah,
kind of
so
the big like
soul
the big
retrieval and also like plant spirit healing journeys, like how would one go about it and things like that.
Well, I mean, plant spirit healing is all about your relationship to the plants. I mean, that's the key ingredient is that you're in a partnership with the plants. And so what I do is, I mean, I have kind of my core group of plants that I like to work with. They're just, they're my homies. And my experience is you don't have to have hundreds of plants that you work with. I mean, I'm an herbalist too. So I know all the chemical constituents, not all of them, but I know all of that part of it too. But I feel like it's just one aspect. It's not the whole thing. So my tendency was to go toward working with, some would say the energetics, but it's actually more than that. Energy and spirit work. So, okay. Um, Plant spirit healing is about working with the vital principle, which is spirit, the vital principle held to give life, the part that's the essence of it, the part that makes life live, and energy. You work together with those. Energy is energy. It can't be created or destroyed. It can take different forms, but you don't create energy. And so what I have found is that the spirit aspect of the plant directs the energy. And when these two work together like this, that's because ultimately in our own healing, um, once something manifests physically, it's been hanging around for a very long time. It starts on that spirit level. It starts on that level and then it works its way down to a physical level. And it's kind of like peeling away. It's like layers of an onion. You peel away the layers of the onion till you get to the oh, this is where it started. So it starts on a spiritual level, and then it works its way down. So the ideal in plant spirit healing is that you catch it on that level. So you work with the spirit of the plant to find out what the compromise is on the spirit level. And oftentimes it's energy that's blocked up, bound up, not moving. That's Not always, but oftentimes it's on an energy level that the compromise is. So, and which can come from it. I mean, it can come from lots of places. It can come from um, some type of trauma. So it can come from an emotional thing, some type of trauma. It can so that then that kind of gets into, well, then pieces of you, like, so the soul retrieval part would be like, during a trauma, that part that's being traumatized says, "Meh," and oftentimes it's when you're younger, because young children, young people can be traumatized. I mean, you could fall off your bike and have a horrible, bike fall as a kid and be completely traumatized by it. I can remember a bad fall I had on my bike that was down a hill. And I tumbled so bad and I was black and blue and scraped up and all. It took me a long time to recover from that. I was completely traumatized by that. And so a part of your soul is like, I'm out of here because, I can't really deal with this. So I'm just going to take a break over here. So this is the whole piece where a part of yourself, it's called, retrieving a part of your soul. Um, but you work with the spirit of the plant to help do that, to help retrieve that part of the of yourself that went missing because you had a trauma. So it's really working in plant spirit healing is working on a whole nother level. And like the physical part is like, once you're at that level, then you gotta start working backwards. You kind of have to you have to work on the physical level. So you have to know how to work with the plants on a physical level as well. But to say that to not to be an herbalist that only works with plants and their chemical constituents, okay, it's really, you're just only kind of band-aiding it on a physical level, and you're not going to the source of it. You've got to go to the source of the compromise. Otherwise, it's just going to show up again or in another way. So, anyway, that's kind of in a nutshell what plant spirit healing is. I mean, there's many aspects to it. So, okay. So I work within the energy anatomy. So the energy anatomy is where you're going to find the blockages. So chakras, meridians, right side, left side, the energy that flows on the right side, left side. So that's what I do is work within the energy anatomy. And I work with plant spirits to shift the energy. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you want to know more, then read Plant Spirit Healing, that book. Does that give you an idea?
Yeah,
Does
definitely.
that answer your question? That's what I should say. Did that answer the question?
Uh-huh. I do just want to open it up to everyone else who might have some questions, but also if you have any stories about something that stands out, maybe for Rose or Mugwort, like a student's experience, I'd love to hear that at some point. But maybe
Oh
we
my
can you
gosh, let's
can
see.
think on it.
There's a lot of um you want like a dramatic healing experience?
Just something that, yeah, has been transformational for people or when it's really like hit home for them, I guess.
Well, okay. So one of the things that you and I were talking earlier mentioned is right now some of the work that I'm doing is called plant initiations. And plant initiations are um, it's like it sounds an initiate. Well, thinking about what an initiation is in older times, it was usually young people being initiated into the tribe. So it's kind of stepping into like your adulthood, so to speak, in within the tribe. So oftentimes people would take new names, but it was kind of like, you take your place within the collective. So now in these modern times, I mean, many of the elders are gone, passed on, and there's not much initiation going on these days. Maybe somewhere remotely, but not really. I mean, maybe bar mitzvah is a remnant of initiation that still happens, but there's not many. So what's happening on an evolutionary scale is that the plants are stepping up to take the role of the elder, to initiate us into what it means to be truly human, living sanely, keyword, within the collective. because we're cultures full of uninitiated adults. Thus, that's what I think that's part of the chaos on this planet is we don't have a clue what it means to live as an intact culture. We don't know what that means. We don't know how to live in all of our diversity together and not kill each other on the planet. It's like, hello, everybody, come on. So it's like, so the plants are taking on that role to help us be able to live sanely. So what we're doing is, and these are common plants. This is not ayahuasca. These are not psychotropic plants that I'm talking about. I'm talking about dandelion, nettle, St. John's wort, common plants. You walk outside your door and there they are. So we spend the way I'm doing it is we spend 3 days together and we make what I'm calling an elixir. It's not technically an elixir, but what we take different parts of the plant, different mediums, water, alcohol, hydrosols, different mediums, put them all together, make, and the whole thing is is in a ceremonial context. So it's 3 days of ceremony. So everything you do is with intention and in a ceremonial way. So the container is held within a ceremony. And we do, and then we drink this elixir, there's 2 ounces 8 times. So we have 16 ounces total throughout 3 days. Folks are encouraged to fast. Just, you don't have to, but if you got a bunch of food in there, then that's kind of getting in the way of interacting with the spirit of the plant and with the plant and how it's working with you. So, and then we do all different kinds of things with the plant. We embody the plant. We make masks. We have a council fire where we all become the plant, whatever the plant is. We each become one of those, and we speak that way. We speak around in that council. So if we're doing dandelion, we're all a council of dandelions, and each one of us has our own way of speaking from our hearts. As dandelion. So that's something we do. We do a thing called green breath, it's like a transformational breath work, only it's breathing with the plant. And it's 72 minutes of breathing in a particular way which is super profound, and amazing things happen during the green breath sessions. We do different kind of journeys. We do a dismemberment journey. We do work with the labyrinth. We do prayer arrows. And then the plant oftentimes will have its own particular thing that it might want you to do. Like a couple years ago, we were doing hawthorn, and there's a hawthorn tree, a small hawthorn tree in here at my place. And then there's a big hawthorn tree on the other side of the road where I harvest my berries and things like that. And I was over working with that big hawthorn tree. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited that, you're going to be the initiator this year. And this hawthorn is like, and you're going to bring everybody on pilgrimage. And I went, pilgrimage. Okay, like what would that look like? And so it's I know what a pilgrimage is, but I was kind of like, how are we doing this now? And so it's like, well, you're all gonna walk from your place over to here. And so we're walking down the dirt road and up the hill, and then the big trees up there, and then we're all sitting around the tree. You're gonna walk here on a pilgrimage, and you're gonna be on pilgrimage. The whole reason for this with Hawthorne was that to teach us and show us and guide us into that your whole life is a spiritual pilgrimage. And so anyway, it was just like, I was kind of like, when that happened, I was like, pilgrimage. I got home and I Googled it all up and went, pilgrimage. I know what a pilgrimage is, but I was like, and I'm going to do this. How am I going to do this again? So anyway, so that happens too, is the plant will come along and say, okay, no, you're going to do this now. And I'm like, so you need to be me as the facilitator. I'm not the initiator. The plant's the initiator. I'm the facilitator. But as the facilitator, I have to be in really good communication with the plant or the tree in order to we do this together. We do it together. So, so these initiations have turned out to be incredible. And it's kind of the next level of working with the plant to come into your true essential nature, who you really are, and then living within the collective, and this deep healings take place. Because in order for you to be filled full of your true essential nature and living to your full potential and walking the path you came here to walk, the trauma thing has got to go. Wait a minute, I shouldn't say it that way. And not putting so much energy towards the trauma stuff in your life. We have a tendency to really spend a lot of time on that trauma. And and you think it's, oh, I just spent 20 years in therapy. Why, how come I'm back here again? How come this is circling back around again? So what's happening in these initiations is that it's like, okay, let's get this done. Let's take care of it and let's be done. It doesn't mean that it whisks away the trauma like magic. It just means you don't spend so much time on it. You don't put all that time into it. And that frees up your time to put towards being all you possibly can be. So these initiations are amazing. So this year, motherwort is the plant that stepped forward. I don't choose the plant chooses me, and I just pay attention. It's usually the year before the initiation is going to happen, and I just pay attention. And so motherwort got my attention big time this year, and so I was like, I usually do 2 dates, and so I did 2 dates for the motherwort. It filled up like immediately, both of them. And I was like, oh gosh, Motherwort, geez, these are both full already. And Motherwort was like, oh, you can't turn anybody away. And I was like, oh, that means I need to add another date. So I did. I added a third date for Motherwort, and that one's full. And I'm sitting here going, and I still have a waiting list. I'm sitting here going, how are we going to get all these people here? so, so anyway, so Motherwort. And so here's what's happening now. In the last 4 years, what's been happening is that the plants that are stepping forward to be the initiator. In the past, it was always really about healing all this old trauma for us personally. Now, it's we're still doing that, and we're healing the trauma of the collective. Ooh, things are really starting to heat up now because there's a lot of healing on that level that needs to happen right now. And maybe it's always needed to happen, but here we are in this time period where there's a lot of challenges. And so the last 3 years, and then this one, 4 years, is there's been a big emphasis on that. So motherwort, it has a lot to do with a lot of things, but its Latin name is Leonaris cardiaca, the lion-hearted. And so it has a lot to do with courage and having the courage to stand in the truth of your being, in your own sovereignty, in the midst of chaos and in the midst of being gaslighted a fair amount by like trying to be like, make it into like, you're crazy if you think that way, or you're crazy if you think that nature should have its own rights, or you're, like that whole thing that makes you feel like a little wacko. And so this plant is really stepping forward to help us have the courage that it takes to live in these times and continue to do what we need to do to continue in our work with nature and coming back into non-separation, realizing that we're not separate. So I feel like these initiations. Okay, so to answer your question, I had to give the background of initiations. One of the dramatic healing things that happened in an initiation. There's been so many, but I'm just thinking about this particular one. Well, let me tell you something that happened with me with Hawthorne, and it was with the young Hawthorne that was here. And there was that old one that told me we had to go on pilgrimage. That was across the road, the big mother, grandmother Hawthorne. And this one was a young one. And I was sitting up near it, and I was just kind of up near that way, and my gaze kind of went over it, and I was like, oh, Hawthorne, I've always wanted to do an initiation here with you. I mean, I've done it in other countries, but I've never done an initiation here with Hawthorne. I said, oh, I've always wanted to do an initiation with you. I said, but you've never bloomed. So this tree is probably 15 years old, and it's never bloomed. And I said, but you've never bloomed. And Hawthorne was like, well, if you would have an initiation, maybe I would bloom. And I was like, oh, never thought of it like that. And I said, oh, does that mean you want to be the initiator next year? It's like, yep. I was like, okay, okay. So the next year came and I was paying attention to the other big hawthorn across the road and I'm doing all that work. And then I was like, oh gosh, I gotta go check out what's happening with the young hawthorn. And so I go check out the young hawthorn and hear all these little buds. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna bloom. And Hawthorne was like, yeah, isn't that what we agreed on? That I would bloom and you would get this together, you would get the initiation together. I was like, yeah, but you're gonna bloom. I was so excited. This tree had never bloomed. And I was just like, and Hawthorne's like, yeah, isn't that what we agreed on? And so what it was for me was this huge lesson in trust. Now, I've been doing this for lots of years, and I finally really got it that I do not have to question ever if a plant or tree tells me it's going to do something. I can, that's good. I can be guaranteed about that. So it was a huge lesson in trust for me. And it was also kind of a heart healer for me as well. I've kind of had some recently, around that time I was having some like heart things. And I feel like what Hawthorne did, I mean, it's one of the best plants there is for the heart on a physical level, of course, but I feel like what happened in that experience of really trusting, like really trusting, and not ever having that doubt of like, really? Really? Which is what we do. We have a tendency to do that in general. And so what it did was it healed my heart. It really helped be like, your heart's okay. It's okay. You can fully trust with your heart. And I just feel like it was such a huge healing to my heart. Anyway, that's something that recently happened to me. And I just am so grateful for it. So
Oh, yeah, that's so beautiful.
there's other some like really super duper physical things. And I was going to tell you this one story, but I'm feeling a little bit like, ooh, that's not my story to tell. It's
Oh,
because
no, that's
kind
fine.
of
Don't
dramatic. So I
worry.
don't, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should tell that story because
Oh,
it's really somebody else's story. And but yeah, yeah.
no. Well, I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but I'm going to step back and let other people ask some questions. I hope to be able to visit you in Vermont someday to come to Sweetwater Sanctuary and do a retreat or initiation with you. So, fingers crossed. But yeah, I think Prasanna, did you have a question or anyone else want to ask something?
Yeah, I would love to expand a little bit more on this communication. It's been really inspiring to hear your stories, and I didn't know about plant healing outside of psychedelic plants. So, but it makes so much sense. It was really interesting to hear. Um, and I also think that communication is a central part of the rights of nature because in many um, legal protection, there would be like a human guardian representing the needs of the natural entity or ecosystem. But in order to really represent that, we would need to learn how to listen first. So last year we also had some sessions with intuitive animal communicators, and they kind of approach that from I think in a similar way that you do. Um, but I also try to experiment with this myself for my research. I just came back from doing research about the forest fires in Bolivia, and I spent 2 weeks with an indigenous community asking them how are they experiencing this, how are they responding to it, and then I wanted to ask the same to the trees that are still left because like 80% of the forest got burned down, but there was like one very big towering Bibosi tree left. So I sat inside like the roots of the tree because the roots they rise above the ground, and I try to do this vibrational, what was the term again? Yeah, I tried to communicate, to connect with the plant, but I didn't get many signs, and it's probably because I'm not trained in this at all. But yeah, I was wondering if maybe you have like some practical tips for beginners to
Yeah.
communicate from the heart.
Yep. Yep. Um, well, okay. The heart needs to be in coherence, meaning it needs to be, you need to sync your heart up with your brain and your gut. So these are like the three, I would call them the three, some people call it they call them each brains. I call them intelligences or brilliances. It's like part of our original brilliance is we've got the heart, we've got the brain, and we've got our gut. So the gut is like instinct. It's like actually what probably helps us communicate on an instinct level with nature. So it's instinctual. It's kind of like you just know it. It's just this inherent knowing. The heart is kind of the emotional piece of the connection with nature, the brain being the logical part. But when your heart is in coherence, it's like these three work, they work together. So that's the ideal for you as just a way to begin to like what kind of state do you want what do you want to be present with when you begin this communication? So the thing to remember is that plants and trees have this is all in the science, by the way, what I'm about to tell you. This is not my new agey idea. This is all in the science. The science is catching up now with what all the old shamans know to be true. Plants and trees have a greater ability to fine tune their resonance to you than you do to them. So if you kind of get out of the way and let the plant or the tree just do its thing, which it's gonna take your vibratory resonance, your resonance. You have a vibration, the tree has a vibration. And what happens is the tree fine tunes. So here's your resonance, here's the tree's resonance. The tree fine tunes it to you. And oftentimes it starts like it's like music, an octave, which is 8 notes from each other. So you're in this like resonance here. And so you're in harmony. It's about an octave separate. And this is when you're in harmony. And it's like riding this wave. The tree is able to do this with your resonance. So you're starting to ride this wave. So then you're in this harmony with it. And then as you and then you start to you feel this, you can feel this resonance from the tree in your body. That's the felt sensation I mentioned earlier when we were talking. It's a sensation. So sensations are like fluttering in your chest, or tight knot in your gut, or your hands might tingle. Those are sensations, not emotions, sensations. So you notice, you pay attention, what are you feeling in your body? Your body is this amazing little miracle that can tell you all kinds of things. So what are you feeling in here? What and so that means you have to be really paying attention. You can't be distracted by anything else. You got to pay attention, be right here, right now with the tree. Okay, so maybe, let's see. For me, Rose, when I'm working with Rose, it's soft. And so here you go. So, okay, you've got, oh, everything feels soft, like the air feels soft, my clothes feel soft, my skin feels soft, everything is soft. Okay, well, that's kind of broad. Soft is kind of like out here. What you want to do is bring it into a focal point. What kind of soft is it? Soft as silk, soft as velvet, soft, creamy soft like butter. So what you do is you take it from way out here and you bring it into a focal point. So you can describe it. Or another one of mine, sometimes it might be a posture. It describes the sensation. So the white pine tree here in the Northeast, the white pine, they call it the redwood of the East. It's when you look at the horizon, it's the tallest tree on the horizon are the white pines. They're really tall. And so white pine is one of my big allies. And white pine for me is a posture. It's like my shoulders go back. I stand really straight and tall right here, and I'm right here in the center. And the words for this posture are tower of strength. So that's that's the resonance I feel with white pine is like, now I was standing on a street corner in London after the volcano went off. This is years ago. What year was that? 2010? And I couldn't get home. No planes were flying. So I was said, okay, I'm going to try to get back to Ireland where my friend Carol, and she's actually the one that has taught me the plant initiation thing she was doing. Anyway, so I was like, I need to get back to Ireland. But let's see. And the lady at the desk in the hotel said, go catch the red bus. Well, there's 50 million red buses in London. They're all red. And I got out there on the street corner and I was like, oh, God, they're all red. And I was like, so this is what I did on that street corner in London. I did my stance. I went, and I stood straight up and down. And I said, white pine, I need your help. And I need it now. I need help. I'm in a foreign country. Thank God they speak English. And I can't get home. It's a really scary place to be, to not feel like, oh God, when am I going to get home ever? And I just stood there and I was just like, I need your help and I need it now. Big old tears starting to roll down my cheek. And walking up the street comes this English businessman from India, dark-skinned, suit, tie, comes walking up and says, can I help you? And I said, I need to go to Ireland. I'm in tears. I need to go to Ireland. And he said, well, you need to catch the red bus. I said, I know, they're all red. I don't know which red bus to catch. Oh, well, here, you need to catch this bus and then change buses. And I was like, wait, I'm going to have to write this down. And he said, oh, no, I'll take you. And then the voice went off in my head. Don't ever go off with a stranger, which was not my voice. It was my mother's voice. But I was like, give me a minute. I turned to the side and the heart ping thing, the heart ping method that I told you earlier, I turned to the side. I said, okay, heart, should I go off with this man or not? And my heart went ping. And I turned back around. I said, okay, great, let's go. So I was like, this is going to be okay. I'm going to go with this man. The right bus comes along. We get on the bus. He gets out his little device and starts looking up schedules and da 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 da. We go. We get off the bus in kind of a sketchy part of town. I was really glad he was with me. I got my roller bags. I got my drum on my shoulder. And we get down to the bus. We got off the bus. We went to the train station, and he helped me buy my ticket, and walked me out onto the platform, made sure I got on the right train. And as I was, going up the steps, I turned around, I said, wait, like, what's your name? I didn't know his name at this point. And he said, Hans. And I went, I got on that train. I said, an English businessman from India named Hans. Who was that anyway? And so I was like, was that white pine? Was that the spirit of white pine? Was that an angel? Like, who was it? The point here is that because I could call up white pine without being in the presence of white pine, that's what the felt sensation and putting the handle on it does, is it means you can call it right back up, and then the plant is right there with you. The plant or tree spirit is right there with you. That's why it's important for you to, and then once you have that one, and then you move into this resonance of when you're riding that same wavelength, then you get to the point where it merges and you're riding on the same wave. There's no separation between you and the plant. So, that's a lot to say, and I don't know how much is sinking in, but if you start to practice it, and once you have the experience of it, you'll be like, oh, now I get it. So anyway, that was kind of a long way of describing it, but I don't know how else to tell you about it because you got to tell the whole thing. So anyway, so felt sensation is a really good way to to be able to go into that vibratory resonance piece, which I think is what you were really wanting to know about. It's the vibrational piece. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I have found to be really effective is I learn how I experience the vibratory resonance of the plant or tree inside my body. That's how I know what it is. That's how I know what it feels like. And then I can call it back up. So I don't need to be in the presence of the tree or the plant. So anyway.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
will try to connect again, see if
Yeah.
maybe I can get
And
another
I've
response.
written about this in both the Plant Spirit Healing book and the new book, Co-creating with Nature. It's it's step by step by step by step. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'll have a look.
Yeah, thank you. I was just sharing in the chat my experience with these anchor feelings, and that with oak, I felt like very strong and proud and self-assured in my chest, but that these feelings can also be very unique and different for everyone, and it just depends what you tune into and how it kind of manifests in your body as well. But yeah, it was an incredible experience and really opened me up to the world of magical essences and plant spirit healing. I am aware of time, but I would just like to see if anyone else wants to ask any more questions um before we let everyone go.
Hi, just to present myself, I'm sorry for just entering in. It's just my first time. It's my first day in the GARN Youth Hub. It's really a pleasure. So I just saw the invitation in the group, and I saw myself in the as an invitation for me to get in here. So it's really nice to see what you guys were talking about. I mean, about some experience that you guys had. But if I'm not just to understand it well, it's about a book club, right? That the Garn also has, right? If I'm not wrong. It's just it's everything very new for me. And actually, I'm glad that the book club was the first group the first meeting that that I had right now. So, well, nice to meet you guys. My name is Jean Philippe, by the way.
Nice to
Nice
meet
to meet
you.
you. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, so this session has been on this book. Oh, can you see it? I don't know if it's showing. Okay, Co-creating with Nature, Healing the Wound of Separation, by Pam Montgomery. We have a book club every 2 months. So our next one will be in July, and we'll be announcing that soon. But yeah, we also have roundtable meetings and webinars and things like that, and we'll post in the WhatsApp chat to stay up to date with all the events and stuff. And yeah, really happy to have you here. We look forward to
Thank you.
seeing you more.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. And it's also so powerful to get to discuss those books. I have been reading some books about solar punk and things from this artistic area about to construct narratives of future, which is something that we really need at this day and time of the earth.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
thank
and on
you.
a
Pretty sure I'm going to participate in the next one.
amazing. Yeah, on that note, I feel like plant spirit healing and co-creating with nature is like this revolution that we need. And, part of this solar punk future where we live in eco villages and, really immersed in nature and communicating with the plant spirits and our relatives and remembering that we're we are one with them. So yeah, that this has been a really enlightening session. Yeah, I almost don't want it to end, but maybe if you write another book in future, we can do another book club as
Oh
well.
my gosh,
And
I'm just getting this one out. So give me a little break.
yeah, I just love your writing. But does anyone have any more questions just before we sign off for the day? Or...
It's me again. Just to clarify, if you guys already have read any book from, for example, Ailton Krenak or Bruno Latour, or I don't know if you guys know these authors, or if there's a platform where we can suggest books or.
Yeah, for sure. So in the WhatsApp group that you just joined, you can send the suggestions in there, and we'll be having more book clubs throughout the year so we can get in touch with some of these authors perhaps if they feel, yeah,
Oh, okay,
aligned with
that's
the.
nice.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, go ahead, Carl. Collagen is how do I say your name? Sorry.
Well, thank you so much for the talk.
Turn up your volume. Can't hear you.
Very, very quiet.
One second. Um, Sorry. Can you hear me like at all?
It's very faint.
Okay, I will just scream. Thank you for the talk, Pam.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you can hear it? You hear me?
Yeah,
Just about.
yeah, we can hear you sort of, so long as you talk loud.
I don't know what
Yeah,
my
shout no.
am I better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this works. Yeah, thanks so much. Very inspiring, interesting talk. I started in your book, but I did not finish it yet. So there was also some new parts for me. But as you from the Youth Hub, I don't know your name, with the bandana, just said, sort of this steampunk future. How do you imagine that this spreads among people, like sort of fast enough,
Well, tell
at
everybody
the
to read
rate
this
that we
book.
need? Yeah, but a lot of people don't really read books.
Oh,
No, I mean, just like, um, that sounds like really bad. It's not what I meant to say, but I mean more like how can we, you
well,
think?
here's what's happening, which was what I've noticed. Do you know about the morphogenic resonance? Rupert Sheldrake's work,
Yeah.
which basically, says that when you reach a certain critical mass,
Hmm.
then what you see is it's like a leap in consciousness amongst the whole species. But what's in the morphogenic resonance, what's happening is like there's pockets that pop up all around that are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing that happen, is like this working with the plants, even in this way with plant initiations and all that. I mean, there's pockets of people that I've never even met them. That are in different parts of the world that are spontaneously at the same time this is starting to happen. So it's kind of like the quantum leap thing. So it's kind of exciting. So I think that, like what you're saying, is like not everybody reads, or they don't have time to read, or they're whatever. It takes years for you to find a book that might talk about it.
Yeah.
I think that this is the way it's gonna really spread, is through the unified field, through the field. It will spread that way. So, because the truth is, we're all connected.
Yeah.
Nature's all connected. It's all connected. It's all connected. And that this new story that we tell, that's the other thing. That's the other piece of it, is like, don't be telling the old story. Don't be telling that old paradigm story, because we're done. That's over. I mean, I don't know. Living here in the US, where do you live? Do you live in the US? No, you don't. Where do
No,
you?
I'm in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, right. Well, the US is a mess right now, quite frankly. And
Well, it is here too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Quite a
I
mess.
just my friend was just here visiting from the Netherlands, and she said, "Oh, it's so horrible there right now. It's so bad, like taking away all the farms and blah blah blah." Anyway, so I think when I look at, as I was talking about motherwort for this initiation this time, giving us the courage to really tell this new story, and to not let, when somebody starts to diss you, or try to make you feel like your story's it's not possible, or what do you mean organic agriculture? We can't feed the world with organic agriculture. Oh yes, we can. It happened for millennia. It's only been in this short little period of time that there's all these chemicals that are making a mess on the planet. Anyway, so I think it's our responsibility to tell the new story, to tell our truth, and to tell, because that's how the paradigm shifts, is you tell a new story. And once enough people are like agree upon this story, then it shifts and changes.
And
So
how do you deal with skeptics? Because I feel like this amnesia that you talk about is so strong that a lot of people are so completely disconnected that they
I
don't even
know.
want to believe this, or they do say it's like new agey stuff and what are you on about? Um, what's your tips for those kind of people?
I try not to get angry. That doesn't help at all, and not get like, but to stay within my own sovereignty and the truth of my own being. I also try to equip myself with some facts and figures and research and science. Science helps a bit for the
Mm.
skeptics if you
Yeah.
come up with some scientific studies. And I'm telling you, the science is catching up. It really is. And so I whip out a few scientific studies. It depends on who you're talking to. So I learned this a long time ago, is that you talk to lots of different people and you have to be able to, um, for them to be able to actually hear what you're saying, there has to be this coherence, heart coherence. That's how it happens. They're not going to hear a word you're saying unless there's heart coherence. Because what happens is your biophotons and my biophotons start to make a beam of light. This is all for real. Okay. There's biophotons, particles of light at the nucleus of the cell of all living organisms. That's part of the way that we communicate with plants is when this biophotons are making a beam of light, then the communication goes back and forth. So that's your goal, is to be able through heart coherence through to with this other person to hit upon something that they can go, oh yeah, I get that. So you have to learn to speak their language even though it might not be yours. It's you have to be able to. So I mean, it's, if they want to hear the science, then you got to be able to say some of the science. If they want to hear a story from the Bible, then you got to be able to come up with one. I mean, because there's that too. So if you're speaking to young people, that's one kind of story. Then if you're speaking with older people, my age, older people will be able to connect because their grandparents lived this kind of life close to the earth, most of them, many of them. It wasn't until that next generation that they all started to leave the land and go to the cities. So old people, you talk about what their grandparents did, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I remember when my granny did this and that." Young people won't connect on that level because there's not a memory. It's already been lost. It's the story was never passed on. So the story of the spring that used to have, the best tasting water that came right out of the ground that we all used to go down there and drink. We used to drink that. Those stories, once the spring dried up, those stories never got passed on. So young people don't even have those stories. So you got to relate to young people in a different way of speaking. So that's what I find, is try to find the avenue that you can really make the connection. And I mean, I also have done things like, you know, well, I mean, this is with plants and trees and all of that, but I've found that this is really a good connector, is breath. It's kind of like, well, let's see if all those trees over there get cut down, then that's going to eliminate some of the oxygen, which then, you do realize that's your breath is coming from that. And so I try to, again, without passing some big judgment on these folks, because nobody wants to be judged, but just to point out that, I mean, we wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for those plants. I was in Belize and a couple winters ago, and all this sargassum, which is a kind of seaweed, was washed up on the beach, and there's a whole story behind that, but I won't go into it right now. But basically, there's so much sargassum now because the ocean's temperature is warmer, and so that really feeds the bloom. So anyway, it washes up on the beach, and there's plastic in the sargassum. There's all these bits of plastic. And so my friends and I decided one morning we were going to go pick up some of the plastic off the beach and pick it out of the seaweed. So then you can use the seaweed's actually wonderful to use to, you rinse the salt out of it, and then you can make soil out of it for your garden and all that. So anyway, and this woman, she was clearly a tourist, came walking up the beach and, oh, I know, isn't that awful? All this plastic that, oh, this awful thing. And people just throw their plastic on the beach, or they throw it into the water and then it washes up. And I was like, yeah, I know. How much plastic did you put in your garbage this morning? I said it nicely. I said it very kindly and nicely. And she kind of like, well, let's see. And she actually stopped and thought about it. And I was like, so I hit a nerve with her, but it was like, you just, I, I'm not, I don't know. I don't know exactly what to say to you other than you just stay in your heart as much as you can and tell the truth. Tell your truth. And
Yeah.
don't worry
Compassionate
about what
relating.
they think about you. Don't worry about what somebody thinks about you. I was just reading this, a friend of mine just wrote this beautiful book. It's about plants, of course. It's called The Generosity of Plants, and it's really quotes from other people. And there's a quote in it from one of my teachers whose name is Martin Prechtel. And there's a quote from him in it. And he talks about, I mean, Martin is like, he doesn't spare anybody. He just speaks his mind completely. So he said something about, he was like, yeah, I said, then go invite your fascist neighbor over. And it was this whole thing about talking about the plants that you're growing in your garden, and that, oh, and like share a recipe with your neighbor. But it was just this, it was such a, it was a quote, it was a long quote, but and it was kind of like, you don't treat them like a fascist, but they are. And he said, because their narrow way of thinking, and but then you start talking to them about something they can relate to. I mean, most people can relate to food. And so anyway, yeah, try to find the common ground. Try to find the place where you connect. So the common union, like that's where the
Yeah.
communication really takes place. There's g-
Thank
there's
you.
there's a common union somewhere in there. There's a common union. You just need to find it. So that's part of the work we have to do in telling the news stories. We have to do that kind of work to find the common union in other people. People aren't inherently bad. They're not. Everybody comes in with original brilliance. Everybody comes in with brilliance, with light. It's just that it gets a little shadowy over the years. So, or the light gets obscured, but everybody comes in that way. So, if I can't, I'll start at that level then of like, okay, this is actually a being of light, and I need to speak to their light. Don't speak to their shadow. Don't speak to the fascist. Speak to the person who came in on a beam of light and who has gifts to share. Speak to that person. So, yeah.
Well, I think
Thank
that's a
you.
beautiful note to end on. Just before we go, I'd love if Pam, you could share a bit about so your website is wakeuptonature.com.
Yeah.
And if you have any retreats or trainings online or in person that you have coming up that you'd like
Well,
to
right
share
now
about.
there's all the motherwort initiations, but they're all full right in this. I mean, I have a waiting list, so and people do cancel for one reason or another. So there's that. In the fall, there's another one of my teachers is coming here to my place in Vermont, Rocio Alacarn, and she's from Ecuador. Um, she's an amazing person who's so connected to um, yeah, she's so connected to nature on all levels. And she's gonna be teaching about seeds, and not in like an agricultural sense necessarily. She's going to be talking about the power of seeds and how to be working with seeds on kind of that bigger level. So she's going to be here in
Wow.
September. That's on my website. The other thing I want to mention, which I forgot, is there's an organization that I founded back in 2013. It's called the Organization of Nature Evolutionaries, otherwise known as ONE. And that organization, you should tap into that. We do a lot of webinars. We do a lot of educational type programs on that. I think your group would really be interested in that. So check into the Organization of Nature Evolutionaries. It's uh natureevolutionaries.com is the website. So yeah.
Amazing. And then just for anyone who's watching, I'm going to put the recording on. Well, we're going to put it to the GARN Global YouTube, and I can send you the recording afterwards so that we can make sure everyone receives it who signed up. And but yeah, we have a membership form on garn.org/get involved, and we have a WhatsApp community where we have hubs from North America, Europe, Africa, Latin America, Asia, to an Indigenous Council and a youth hub and a legal hub, academic hub. So yeah, if anyone wants to join there, that's where you can find us. And yes, thank you so much for today, Pam. It's been amazing. And yeah, I've learned so much and just hope to keep learning from you and yeah, feeling inspired and connecting to the plants and yeah, just really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for asking me. Have a great afternoon, after evening, day, whatever, whenever, wherever everybody is located on the planet. Bye for now.
All right, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Welcome.